So yesterday, it seems that Peter Magyar trounced Orban in the Hungarian elections, literally trounced him. And so what does this mean? This means that Trump and his cohort's beachhead in Europe is gone. And the only ally, somewhat ally, that they have now in Europe is Meloni of Italy. Otherwise, the MAGA movement's star and example and model is gone, and that is Viktor Orban. What does this mean for future of elections? Well, it seems that it's possible that a lot of right-wing populists in Europe will not prevail. This is good news for Ukraine, I suppose, because Viktor Orban was holding up a lot of initiatives from NATO, because Hungary is a NATO member, Hungary is an EU member, so they could withhold funding, they could vote against a lot of pro-Europe initiatives, which Trump wanted. So, that is gone. But mostly it is a real trouncing of what the right-wing populists could not deliver, and the base corruption that that Orban represented, the grift. And given that the Trumpists wanted Orban to be the model, and again, they were overtly saying that they wanted Orban and Hungary to be the model that they followed. And really the first step to that was control of the media. So we have Ellison buying up TikTok and CNN and a host of a slew and slate of media interests. We have Bezos owning Washington Post, and we can see where that has gone. So that was very much the model. And then, of course, destroying the independence of the judiciary in Hungary, which Orban very successfully did, and also making sure that no corruption could be investigated. And all of that model, all of those models are absolutely being followed by the Trump administration. So the beachhead is gone. Let us see how that pans out. As of 10 a.m. this morning, we are told that the U.S. Navy is going to blockade ships coming in and out of Iranian ports. Apparently, they're not going to stop tankers transiting through the Strait of Hormuz. But which country in their right mind is going to transit the Strait of Hormuz, knowing that Iran could hit it with missiles, or the U.S. Navy could accidentally hit it with missiles? Really, which country is going to take that risk? I don't know. And which insurance company is going to insure tankers going through the Strait of Hormuz? So this seems to be actually a total blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Now remember, the Strait of Hormuz was open on February 27th when Trump decided to launch his war, duped by Netanyahu, to launch the war on Iran. So then Iran decided to tighten the screws on Western interests and GCC interests trying to transit the Strait of Hormuz, and made it impossible for movement through the strait. So what was open on 27th of February was then not so open. So then Trump wanted to launch a war to open what was not closed before. There was no blockade, and now there's a blockade, and now Trump wants to blockade to undo the blockade. Yes, it's all very ridiculous, but that is sort of what is happening. Not surprising, the futures markets are going nuts. Oil futures are up about $8, and S&P futures and Dow futures are down by more than a percent, as expected. So before 10 a.m., maybe some market manipulation will happen. It is quite possible that it will happen, but let us see how that goes. The Iranian foreign minister said something really interesting and disturbing yesterday. He said that the US and Iran were inches away from an Islamabad memorandum of understanding. Inches away. And then he said, we suddenly encountered maximalist demands, shifting goalposts, and a blockade. So the question is, who stepped in to undermine that MOU? Was it Trump? Was it Netanyahu? Was it both of them? How did you go from being inches away to a situation where there is such massive escalation today? Well, we have somewhat of a hint. Netanyahu is saying that the Americans call him every day and tell him what is going on and what they are planning to do. Every day, he says. Vance called him from his plane back to the United States, and Netanyahu is telling us that the Americans exploded the talks. Yeah, the Americans exploded the talks. And Netanyahu is in full support of the naval blockade. Why did the Americans explode the talks? I think the American people deserve an answer as to why they're paying higher gas prices, higher grocery prices, how they're in a state of fear of an escalation today, how they're in fear of World War III, while Netanyahu is excited that the Americans exploded the talks and that the Americans call him every day. Why? How did that happen? On top of everything else, Trump thinks that it's a good idea to be abusing the Pope. So he's telegraphing how he doesn't like the Pope, how the Pope is weak on immigration and weak on foreign policy. Well, the Pope doesn't make policy. How he likes the Pope's brother and doesn't like this Pope and doesn't accept this Pope, and oh my God. It's turning into all forms of a religious war. Not only Christianity versus Islam, but against Catholicism. It is becoming so worrisome. Not only that, but last night, to poke everybody in the eye, Trump posts a picture of himself as Jesus Christ, raising Lazarus. Insanity or what have you, whatever you want to call it, the President of the United States is doing everything possible to demean the stature of the United States. What does all of this rancor boil down to is the complete diminishing of American stature in the world. People are either laughing, or they're disgusted, or they just don't believe anything coming out of the United States. That is what is going on. Meanwhile, Lebanon is facing chemical warfare with phosphorus bombs dropping on them. The people who have been killed are entire families, children in Lebanon. People are still being killed in Gaza. Iran now says 3,000 people have been slaughtered. 1,000 have been rescued from under the rubble. What does a blockade mean? The blockade means some form of a siege, that Iran will not receive food, essential medication. What does it mean? Another way to erase Iranian civilization? What does it mean? This is becoming really a very, very disturbing and sickening moment in the history of the United States. I don't know what more, how more to distinguish this. Either Trump is spiraling because Orban is gone, and not just gone, but absolutely trounced, and the beachhead in Europe is gone, or that Trump has not found a way out of the quagmire of Iran because Netanyahu will not let him. He's also saying that gas prices may not come down before the midterm. As I've been saying, as things get worse and worse, Trump becomes more and more dangerous, domestically and internationally. And it's becoming harder to see how this mania, how this horror stops. But that's where we are Monday morning, just past 8:30. Let's see what happens before the market opens at 9:30.